Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel today. My name is Christian and today we're here to talk about the first album of 2017. This is the first review of 2017. Thank you all so much for a very, very awesome 2016. I only started YouTube last year and to see my channel grow so much over less than a year is so promising and so humbling for me, so thank you all for watching. And so today we're here to talk about the new record from Yumi at 6. It is titled Night People. It is their 5th studio record and the follow-up to 2014's Cavalier Youth. This is a band that have gotten consistently better over every album, and their songwriting is only getting better and better over time. As I said, this is my first album review for 2017, and unfortunately it is also the first disappointment. This is a record that was on my most anticipated list, and unfortunately it just doesn't deliver. Unfortunately they deliver an album that overall feels a bit ploddy and songs that feel lackluster. Now that's not to say this is a bad album, it's definitely not a bad album. It is still a good album, there are some real highlights on it, but let's get into the album now. Night People opens up the record, it's the title track, and it was also the first single released from this record, and they released this song all the way back in August. Now why they chose to release this single 6 months before the album came out and do 6 months of promotion while releasing half of the record before the release date is beyond me, and it's another issue for another video. Now the song itself, it's fine. It's very thumping and it's very radio rock, but for me I just can't connect to it. I've heard this exact same song from multiple artists over the last year, 2 years, so for me this song just feels a bit pandering. Plus One is then next up on the record, and it is a slight improvement upon what we heard on Night People. It's a bit more upbeat, but for me it's still a song that I really can't connect with. As I said, this song is a bit more upbeat, which I enjoy, but I also really like the verses, and the vocals really drive those verses really well. However, for me the chorus kind of falls flat. It just kind of feels like an extension of the verse, or feels like a pre-chorus. It doesn't really sound like a moment that is meant to be the main focal point of the song. There are no real hooks on this song, and the song kind of just passes by. Heavy soul then kicks in, and as soon as I heard the tone of this song, it put a big smile on my mouth. Yes, this is the Yumi at 6 that I fell in love with. Josh puts in an awesome vocal performance on this track, and the instrumental feels uplifting and sounds epic. The chorus is simple yet effective, and is a really good release from the build-up in the pre-chorus. I love the softer tone, and it's really where the band shine. The album's strength is in its verses. Every song really opens up very well. I mean, most songs, not all of them. But there is a distinct lack of big choruses. This unfortunately means that there won't be much for the average listener to really grab onto. There are some notable exceptions, but overall, the lack of choruses on this record really bring the record as a whole down. Take on the World is next up on the record, and it really feels like an extension of Crash from the band's record 2 records ago, Sinners Never Sleep. The majority of this track is electric guitar and vocals, and it gradually builds over its duration. This is Josh's best vocal performance on the record. It feels emotional, and the melody is just beautiful. This is really a landmark track for Yumi at 6, and it's a song that I can really hear them playing for the rest of their careers, and considering that they are now an arena band over in their home country, this song in an arena would just sound absolutely massive. Up next on the record is Brand New, which is groovy and laid back, and it still has this level of grit to it, and it really builds well over the duration of the song. The drums drive this song really well, and the little intricate guitar parts here and there, going to your left and right earphones or speakers or whatever you're listening to throughout this track, really add a lot to the songs and really elevate a lot of sections. This is one of the better choruses on the record as well. It feels really uplifting and is really catchy. This is a song where the band experiment with their sound, and they pull it off really well. Swear is then next up on the record, and it's a song that goes back to the sound that we heard on the first 2 tracks on this record, and while it does do it better than those 2 tracks, it still feels lacking. The verses are once again really good, but the song is again let down by a lackluster chorus. The bass playing is really highlighted on this track, and I really enjoy that. Really drives the track forward really well. However, the fuzzy guitars don't really work for me, and the song as a whole doesn't really add a lot to this record. I appreciate that the band want to experiment with their sound 5 records in, and a lot of the time I really like when a band change up this sound, and some experiments on this record do work really well, but there are a lot that just don't. Unfortunately, a lot of the songs fall flat and they don't grab you and they don't add anything. The record just feels like they're pandering a lot rather than sticking to who they are and what they're good at. Now that may sound like I don't want them to change, but I do. They've changed on every record they've ever done, and they've done it in a way that suits the sound that they originally had. But on this record, they try some things which is really promising to see. I like a band experimenting, but these experiments don't really work, and they're just not good at writing these types of songs. Make Your Move opens up with a really, really cool riff, and yet again, a great verse. But the song just goes downhill from there. As I've already said, it falls flat. Just overall feels pretty meh. The chorus feels lazy and boring, kind of feels like there was no real effort put into it at all. Can't Hold Back is next, and I basically have the same feeling that I just had for the previous track. There's nothing in this song that really grabs you and keeps you invested in what this song wants to play to you. The opening riff is cool, and the verse has a cool feel to it, but it kind of just stays on the same level for the entire track and never really evolves. They really use the first verse to introduce this really cool groove into the song, and then they just ruin it by going into this 4 to the floor beat that just kind of cuts that all away. It's very jarring and really doesn't work. The production on this record is a real problem. It really doesn't work for the sound that U-Me-8-6 have. I really like when bands experiment with new producers, but the producer for this record really doesn't work. Everything feels overproduced, which really detracts from the impact of every song. There are exceptions, of course, but overall, the production really takes away from this album. Spell It Out is a song where the band go back to what they're good at while adding some new things to it, and it works really, really well. It's a very dark song, it's very brooding, and has a really great melody. I love the addition of piano into this track, and it really adds a lot to this song's atmosphere, and the lead guitar also suits the track perfectly. The song overall is really, really strong and is another highlight of this record. Finally, Give closes out this record on a really odd note. I really, really like what the band are doing instrumentally on this track, but for me, the vocals don't work at all. Josh sounds like he's really, really struggling on the chorus of this track, and it really takes away from the song's impact. It's a real unfortunate way to close out this record, and Spell It Out for me would have been a better closer. Overall, this album isn't bad, it's just fine, and that's a big disappointment for me. There are some real highlights on this record, but unfortunately, there are too many lackluster tracks on this record. It just really outweighs the good. Too many songs just fall flat, and that's the perfect way to describe this record, and that's just, it's just flat. My top 3 tracks are going to be Heavy Soul, Take On The World, and Spell It Out, and I'm going to give this record a 3 out of 5. Anyway, what did you guys think about the record? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section. Did you like the record? Did you not like the record? Let's have a conversation about music. That's what we're here to do. But if you're just going to fill up the comments with hate and insults, just know I'm going to read your comments and laugh at how pathetic your life is. Anyway, thanks for watching my videos today, guys. Please hit subscribe down below, and I'll see you next time. Fresh Currents.